Hi everybody, I've got a really nice journal here today. I like these kind of journals because they just kind of fit in your hand really nice, at least my hand. And let's measure it. It is a 4 by 6 and it's got a little bit of hearts here done in a really light burlap with lace. One of the patches that I make, lots and lots of different laces on the front. There's the spine. You can see I just sewed over, and then more laces back here. The Chunky Monkey. And of course it's got a lace closure. I'm a little crazy with the lace today. I just made this one. On the inside, this is some fabric that I got in an estate sale, and I just love it. It came like in little squares, and it was, I don't know, it's just beautiful. And inside, I put a tag that's got a little pocket made out of lace, and I just stuck some cards in there. There's the back. And I put a notebook in there, different papers in it. And it's real thready, this journal. Threads everywhere. I mean, look. Look at all that. Look at all that yumminess. And it's here. And all this. It's just yummy. Over here, it's all sewn in gold. And it's got some French here with a little corrugated heart and a flower. I tried not to put too heavy decorations on the pages so you'd have room to write. Here's a little tuck spot on one of the papers like I make. And it just slips right in there. Nice place to journal with some more French. Gold stitching. You don't belong there. A little mini pocket with a ruffle and a little mini card. Just a little crocheted pocket. And over here is a nice place to journal. And a little pocket made out of a butterfly and some stamping, and that's part of a curtain. And 2 cards to journal on. Over here some sari ribbon and some lace. And that's a crocheted flower with a brad in it. And of course gold stitching. Another part of a doily with gold stitching. Lots of different papers in this one too. Real pretty vintage lady with a sari ribbon pocket. And 2 little mini cards to journal on. Over here, some of that new trim that I got in a coffee dyed rose with a half of a doily, little half of a mini doily. And on this book page, it's just a dictionary book page, and I put a mini paper. It's got lines on it. It's really faint, but a little place to journal there. More crochet doily and some seam binding and stitching. Piece of ephemera here. And this is a pocket, and it's got 2 coffee dyed cards. It's done in Latin. And you can see the gentleman, he wrote on it what the words were, which I thought was pretty neat. Over here is a half of a crochet doily, and also here. And I put some of that new trim behind it and stuck a flower in it. I just thought that was a pretty page. Over here, part of a curtain and a rose trim. Went blank there for a minute. And a little ticket here with some French and sewing and half of a doily. I like these on the end. They're easy to grab. Over here is a little pocket with a little card in there to journal on. That's a rose with lace and then a ruffle here. It's all sewn in gold. This is some muslin that I script stamped with half of a doily. Pretty. I love that new trim. Gone a little crazy with it lately. Can't help it. You know how it is. You get something new, you want to use it. This side is a pocket with a corrugated heart and a ruffle here with some blue embroidery. And let's see who got lucky today. Noon's Pralines. Oh, who doesn't like pralines? 3 cups of pecans, 3 cups of sugar, 1 large can of evaporated milk, and butter and vanilla. Yep, can't beat that. Somebody's getting something lucky. Be good to make for gifts at Christmas time, wouldn't it? Here's a book page flower with a part of a crochet doily and a safety pin. Look at those pretty fans. And then a ticket to journal on and coffee dyed paper. Oh, you could put it like that if you want. Over here is coffee dyed seam binding, a little heart, a little flower with some stickles. Another dictionary page, and also I stuck a little place to journal there. Some more fabric, I think that's muslin, with some yarn and a rose and some gold stitching. That's the gold stitching from the other side. Over here's a pocket with a curtain that I coffee dyed. And inside we have a little Sharp's needle stamped card. A little tag. And another little tag. I like the lace hanging out. Plain coffee dyed paper, some stitching. Music paper with the gold stitching. Here I put some of that thready yarn I like to use from time to time. Coffee dyed paper. And here's another pocket with a big piece of crochet doily. Little tag that says vintage. A card. Real pretty fans. The gold. And over here, some of the gold peeps through, and then that seam binding that I ruffled. That pretty trim. Over here, another part of a dictionary page with places to journal. Look at how that coffee stain came out. You just never know. I have people ask me, how do you get your paper to do? And it's whatever happens, happens. Little part of a curtain and a flower and part of a petal. There's a little pocket with some of that embroidered linen, some fuzzies. It's a lace pocket and a little card to journal on. It's a short page. Some lace here. Over here is a piece of crochet, and that's part of a doily with the rose. All different kinds of papers in here, in different sizes, shapes. That's a big, huge ruffle. I think that came off of a curtain too, with a corrugated heart. It's a lace pocket on a lace pocket. Over here is a ticket with a vintage button and some crochet doily. It's a little tuck spot with a card. I think that was part of a slip. I will cut up anything and use it. Coffee dyed papers. Here's a nice little pocket with some fuzzies and a vintage lady on a book page. And the background's got a advertisement for, not an advertisement, but a catalog book. I think that's what those are, catalog books of blouse pins. Little card tucked in there. Over here, some more of that seam binding. I'm really liking how that's looking. Really do. And a part of a crochet doily, piece of ephemera. And here's another tuck spot with a heart that I put some fabric behind. And, oops, did I just do that? You know I did. Well, adds a little bit more vintage to it. I tear and rip things all the time. Just becomes part of the look. Because, you know, really that's what makes it over time. And I'm not, you know, I mean, I know I just ripped it, okay? But over time, people are going to go through it after you're gone, you know, and they're going to, and so many people are going to be thumbing through that. Things are going to happen, and that's what gives it its aged look. Not to mention pages are going to yellow, and they're going to get torn. So, I mean, it's just when I make journals, I try to think of those things. Like, what would happen if somebody went through this a whole bunch of times? What would happen to these pages? You know, and if it happens, it happens. I mean, if I do something like that, I leave it. It's part of the old look. You want it to look like people have just, you know, oh, this is precious to me, and they keep going over it and over it. You know, this was my great grandmother's, or, you know, I mean, just yeah, you know, just aged looking. You know, I mean, you can make it with the coffee staining and all that kind of stuff, but it's the fumbling through and the shuffling and the writing and all that kind of stuff that gives it its age too. Another place to journal on a book page with a little piece of seam binding there. A little piece of crocheted doily. And that's a rose. Another piece that's seam binding with a half of a doily. And a pocket here with some sewing and a little card to journal on. And a vintage button, that's part of a curtain. Real pretty vintage lady there. This is a street scene. And a card to journal on. Isn't that pretty? I just love the gold. It's a toughie to sew with, but it's so pretty. Some French here. Stitching. More stitching. Love that. Look at the two different colors. They're both coffee dyed. Isn't that gorgeous? On the back with some more of that seam binding, a little image. And I chose to put part of a crochet doily here. And that's a crochet doily. I don't know if it came from the same thing, so, but it's like a flower. It's loops. These are like little loops. And a brad. And the word treasure on one of those patches that I like to make. And a really soft tablecloth I used for the background. And it's got some image, some dots, and some texture back here. And there's the back. Nice and lacy. Look at all those threads. Aren't they yummy? I just love that. And there's the side. The spine, I should say. And there's the front. I want to thank y'all for being here with me today. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.